6th Street, a couple blocks away, has the same scene, poles down, either leaning or snapped. Immaculate Conception was letting their 800 students out early because they didn't have power. They couldn't flush toilets. I know St. Catherine and Metairie didn't have power, and they were letting their students out as well. So no real damage that we're seeing outside of power lines and some fences. I haven't really seen any roof damage or structural damage to homes, but there is damage that's visible to the eye that's going to get in the way, that's going to cause traffic problems. So if you can, stay off the roads as much as you can. The fire department's out, Entergy's out trying to fix poles and re-energize poles. So be careful. A lot of power, a lot of traffic signals are out, so make sure if you see those, you treat them as a four-way stop like we're always taught to do. And just be extra careful today because it's going to take a while for some power to get back on in some cases. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a number a little while ago. Do you have an update on that? What are we looking at?
About 18,000 on the West Bank are without power right now, and I imagine based on what we see here and what we see blocks away, it's going to take a little while to get that power restored. So be patient. This was an event that is not Entergy's fault. This is something I know everybody loves to blame Entergy when the power goes out because it happens quite a bit, but this is not Entergy's fault. This is Mother Nature saying hello once again in a mean way, and it's something we just have to deal with. So again, be careful and stay off the roads if at all possible.
Now, I saw an Atmos truck here. Has anyone been out to assess the damage? Have they given you a timeline as to when something like this that's more severe will be fixed?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from Atmos or Entergy yet as far as timelines go, and I know they couldn't be out. Be out restoring power when there was still lightning and the wind was still blowing, obviously. So they're out evaluating right now and assessing, and they'll get to work as quick as humanly possible, I'm sure.
And when we're facing an event like this, what is the parish's plan of attack, so to say, right now?
Well, yesterday we started with internal alerts that our EOC was activated, and we're keeping an eye on the weather and making sure that the EOC was staffed overnight just in case anything happened, and into today we're keeping an eye on it. I was actually just at the government building in Gretna today for meetings like we normally have on Wednesdays, and got caught in the monsoon-like conditions, and we heard about damage over near West Jeff, so we came over here to check it out, and it's more than I thought it was going to be based on what we had heard, but based on what I sat in my car when it was shaking and there was hail coming down the car, I'm not surprised to see what we stumbled upon because of the way that it felt when it happened in real time.
Any other words to your residents as we kind of get through the next day or so?
Yeah, hopefully the worst of it is past. I know there's potentially some more coming this afternoon. This is our break time right now. So if you don't have to be on the roads, again, don't. But I know schools get out after 3 o'clock and there'll be a lot of people out. So don't get stuck in floodwaters. You know, if you're unsure about it, don't drive into it. Turn around, don't drown. Make sure you keep those tips in mind and just be as careful as possible. My wife's already called me to see if I was available to pick up my son this afternoon because I've got a much bigger car than she does, and just kind of make those plans to take care of yourself if you need to, and take care of your vehicles if you think it might be in jeopardy later.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know you're very busy right now, so I'll let you go. We appreciate it. You heard it. Please stay off the roads if you can. He mentioned some other spots of damage as well, not just this one, but we want you guys to be as safe as possible. Again, it's going to take a while for energy companies to come out, assess the damage. We often hear in times like these, they have to come out and assess the damage, make sure it's safe for their crews to even get up in their box trucks and do whatever needs to be done to fix it. So they need to be safe first before they can often fix it. So if you're looking at maybe some power outages, it might be a while because, again, Scott Walker just said we're looking at some damage, including some of these power lines being down. So this is the most damage I've seen so far and the most severe damage I've seen while we've been driving around. We're going to go check out some of those other areas that he just mentioned, but be smart out there, guys, please. We don't want you guys driving up to any of these down power lines or anything like that. If you can stay off the roads, please do. Of course, we always tell you guys, turn around, don't drown. Remember, don't drive or walk through any floodwaters. Again, we're gonna continue to drive around the area and bring you the latest information as soon as we can. Reporting live in Marrero, Alyssa Curtis, WWL Louisiana.
We greatly appreciate it. Alyssa Curtis reporting live for us this morning at Medical Center Boulevard, feet away from West Jefferson Hospital there in Marrero. She just spoke live to Jefferson Parish Councilman at Large Scott Walker, who, as he told you, was going on with business as usual today with meetings for today over in Gretna. The weather began to change. She was stuck in his car like many when things got bad, those gusts of winds, weather so bad, the rain there. Then he got those reports of down power lines and whatnot in Marrero. So he got out there as a first responder, as an official to assess. And what you see there, several power poles snapped and down along Medical Center Boulevard and throughout the area there in Marrero. That area without power, checking Entergy's outage right now for that particular area, that zip code, some 3,000 customers without power. But overall in Jefferson Parish, a high concentration, almost 10,000, about 9,000 people without power in Jefferson Parish at the moment. That number down from about 10,000 some 30 minutes ago. Outages throughout the area too in Orleans Parish and other areas as we're dealing with this weather event today. That wind, gusts of wind hitting about maybe an hour ago or so, but things have calmed down as we get into the 11 o'clock hour. But this is an all-day event. We're looking at more rain in the radar. Let's get the very latest from meteorologist Alexandra Cranford.
Hey, Brandon. Yeah, and we're seeing the rain as you were seeing out there where Alyssa was on the West Bank. It is much lighter now for many of our locations, including the North Shore and a lot of our south of the lake spots. However, we do have some pockets of some heavier rain that are still happening. I do think for New Orleans, the metro area, the North Shore, for a lot of spots, and really our entire Southeast Louisiana locations into Mississippi, we're kind of finished with that big first heavy rain wave that we got earlier this morning. And now it's more kind of the scattered rain that we're dealing with through this afternoon. And it does look like maybe 4 p.m. this whole batch of rain may have moved out of here. So we do expect drier conditions later today, especially into this evening and tonight. The green box, though, this bright green box is indicating our flash flood warning that will still go for another hour and a half or so, just to account for those spots that have filled up with water and that maybe still are seeing some drainage issues. But thankfully, our rainfall totals have not been really excessively high with this wave that we've just gotten. We did get a lot of rain. It was heavy. We had some high wind gusts, but now we're just about kind of drying out for a lot of our spots around New Orleans and a bunch of our Jefferson Parish spots, the West Bank. Thankfully dry at this point over towards Chalmette and other spots out to the east, parts of New Orleans east toward the Twin Span. Still some light rain, but where you see the greens, that's pretty light stuff. That's just some sprinkles. It starts to get a little heavier. You can see around Thibodaux, especially around Houma right now, Gray, Raceland, Schriever, places like this, all getting some moderate showers, and the heavier pockets will be in the red. So you can see where it does pick up with that intensity of rain a little bit, especially off toward the coast. Checking out our Plaquemines Parish locations, Port Sulphur getting some pretty decent downpours now when you get south toward Triumph and farther south. We are expecting this next wave of some thunderstorm action to move in, but around Jean Lafitte getting that break, Cutoff also getting a break. And now let's go north of the lake, where of course we got the heaviest rain earlier in the day and then nighttime hours really, and then into this 11 o'clock hour we still have some lighter showers across a big chunk of St. Tammany. If you're on the causeway, still some light rain, but not extremely heavy rain right now for causeway commuters or people getting out on the roads there. And then around Tangipahoa Parish into Washington, we still have lighter to moderate showers, but a lot of spots kind of drying out there too. So this is a bit of a break in the rain. We'll take a look at the big picture in just a second, but I did want to show you those rainfall totals. This is our Doppler radar indicated rain totals over the past 12 hours. And you can see this big swath of the hot pinks. That's about 4+ inches. So this is just estimates, but I just wanted to show you how much our radar has picked up on. And you can see a lot of spots up to about 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. And then it does have a little bullseye out here in the North Shore areas, maybe around Picayune, of near 7. Now that's not set in stone. These are just estimates. But I also wanted to show you some of those actual rainfall totals that we have gotten with the different recording sites that we have around the area. The airport over 2 inches. Downtown has gotten close to 2 inches. This is at the City Hall site I sampled. The lakefront 2 inches, Reserve about 2, and Belle Chase about 1.5. And then north of the lake, we've picked up some decent rain as well, about 1 to 2 or so inches of rain. Now, how about those high wind gusts? We have seen some gusts north of the lake around 30 or so miles per hour, Baton Rouge near 40. And then we were seeing south of the lake at the airport, a 47-mile-per-hour gust recorded. And at the lakefront, 58 miles per hour. And Peyton and Alexa were tracking when that really heavy line of rain was moving in this morning around roughly 9 a.m. Some samples were showing near 60-mile-per-hour gusts. We've gotten a few other reports from the National Weather Service of about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts from earlier today. So quickly, what we have going on, we have that flash flood warning for New Orleans, and that's just kind of the residual flooding that we might see in some spots. So big heads up if you're driving. They're going to be slick roads, obviously. There are going to be some spots where you're seeing some ponding of water. This is our flood watch that does go until Thursday evening, and this is for these rainfall totals of 3 to 6. Possibly isolated up to 10 inches of rain. So certainly got the biggest wave, I think, already. We're getting into our model now. I want to show you what to expect. 11 a.m. Notice it actually has a little heavier rain than we are actually seeing, but the coverage is about the same. It has the scattered rain that we're seeing, but again, this might be a touch heavy as we go forward into the rest of today. This is noon. We'll fast forward to 3 p.m. and it does look like we might be seeing an end to this ongoing wave of rain. And then this is by 4 p.m. Some of the rain moving out by this point, and 5 on towards 6 and 7, we're expecting drier conditions. So we should have a pretty quiet spell for tonight. Now tomorrow, the models have been trending a little drier. So just looking ahead to tomorrow quickly, couple showers possible, but even our high resolution model, the one I'm showing you right now, has us mostly quiet during the day, maybe another wave of rain at night. And then into Friday, we still have a chance for some downpours, maybe not quite the flooding threat, but it does look like we will be seeing at least a chance for rain into Friday, because that big upper low we've been talking about will still be really close to us getting into the weekend. It's off to our north and northwest right now, but then it'll kind of swing in toward us over the weekend. So big picture, satellite and radar, you can see all the clouds. You can see, of course, we're dealing with some of the heaviest rain now moving off into Mississippi. Some pretty heavy downpours just off of our coastline in the northern Gulf. And then also we have some south of Lafayette. So this is another area of some pretty heavy rain and appearing to have some high wind gusts out over the Gulf waters. But Lafayette just still dealing with some showers after they had some of the heavier showers and storms already pass through. So I was tracking the end of it. If you're curious, when's this entire batch going to move out? And from the back edge of that line of rain, you can see a very tentative look. So this afternoon, Baton Rouge, maybe about 1 or 2, Hammond, possibly about 3, Homa, New Orleans, maybe closer to 3 or 4, and then on toward Biloxi, you may see your rain really completely moving out of the area, at least with this wave, by about 5 or 6. So just a tentative timeline there if you're curious when all that might be moving out. Now, looking at our severe risk, by the way, we are at that level 1 risk for severe storms through tonight. And then tomorrow, again, we're at the level 1. So this is a low end risk for severe storms. And we're talking here about the wind gust potential like we saw with the damage that we had around Marrero. And we are looking at that chance for a few more of those higher, wind gusts and maybe some hail for tomorrow too. And by the way, if you're stepping out, it is cool. We're in the 60s for most spots. We've got that muggy feel with, again, that rain chance continuing through at least about 3 p.m. and then likely drying out after that. Brandon, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, that cool weather, we'll take that as some silver lining there, Alexandra. Thank you. A lot of our coverage as far as damage is concerned has been concentrated on Marrero. We had our Alyssa Curtis a few minutes ago with Jefferson Parish Councilman at Large, Scott Walker, with snapped power poles and whatnot near the old West Jefferson Hospital. Now we go to our Rachel Handley, who's literally been getting her miles in today. She is now in Marrero on Avenue D near the old Immaculata High School. That entire part of the town is out of power. Rachel, what else can you show us?
Well, what I can show you is probably at least part of the reason that this area is out of power. Behind me, there are 2 power poles that are completely down. We are, as you said, right next to the old Immaculata, but across the street from here is Immaculate Conception School. And I just talked with a parent of one of the students here, and she says that they were all told to come pick their kids up. What they have been hearing was that there was a tornado, but obviously we can't confirm that. What we do know is that the kids were inside at the time. They say that it sounded like a tornado. They said, as far as they know, nobody was hurt, and we're still trying to find out more information about this. We just got here. All we can really show you is this damage, these power poles down in the street, clearly some evidence of very, very strong wind, and also all of these kids being sent home early from school. It looks like kind of a chaotic pickup scene here right now. I'm looking around to see if there's anything else we need to be showing y'all right now. Really just all we can say is evidence of some very strong wind here, and we are going to try and find out more information about exactly what this was and whether there was any damage to any school buildings, and also to confirm, of course, whether anybody was hurt. But again, as we heard, it sounds like all of the kids were inside at the time that this happened. So going to send it back to you. Hopefully we'll have more information in just a moment.
All right, Rachel, we do thank you for that update. As you saw in Rachel's live shot where she is there on Avenue D in Marrero near the old Immaculata High School, across the street from Immaculate Conception School, you see that down power line, and in the distance you see first responders there working to get the power restored. Some 10,000 customers without power in Jefferson Parish as a whole, but focusing on Marrero where Rachel is right now, some 3,600 residents there without power. A high concentration there, particularly when talking about winds, gusts of winds hitting the metro area about 2 hours ago or so. And in some cases, those gusts were quite high, causing the damage you saw in Marrero. Also some very high gusts throughout other parts of the community. Let's get over to Alexa now, who's taking a closer look at that.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up our radar product, the storm relative velocity, to look at the winds. And this is from just after 9 o'clock this morning. So this was from earlier this morning, the big storm that caused all of the damage, especially on the West Bank. So this is right before it rolled into Marrero. Now I'm showing you the storm velocity looking at the winds because a lot of people online are messaging us and writing comments and asking, was this a tornado? And that's a good question. And it looked like it's more of a wind damage event for us, more of a straight line wind damage event for us. But I did want to go back and look and advance it forward in time. And this area kind of near La Palco Boulevard, if you're looking at your screen here, it indicative maybe of a brief, weak, quick spin up. The red indicates winds moving away from the radar site, which is in Hammond. The green indicates the wind going towards the radar site in Hammond. So at that moment, maybe around 9:09, 9:10 this morning, there could have been a quick spin up, but it did not last long. It's more, I think, a wind threat that came through because you see those really bright colors from Marrero down to La Palco Boulevard around 9:12, 9:13, 9:15 a.m. this morning. Those were the wind gusts that Peyton was showing you earlier this morning that were up to maybe 50 or 60 miles per hour. Obviously, our winds now are much lower than that. I did want to go take it back and forward in time. I accidentally hit the wrong thing, but I did want to go back again and show you those colors once more earlier this morning. So earlier around 9:15 this morning, that's when we had those really bright colors roll through the metro area, especially for the West Bank. And those bright colors indicated strong wind gusts, pushing 50, pushing 60 miles per hour earlier this morning. And we showed you that at the time of it rolling through. So it looked like it was more of a wind damage event. Could there have been a brief, weak spin up tornado? It's possible, something that definitely deserves further investigation, which the National Weather Service, of course, will. They go out and investigate any of the damage that does occur to see if maybe this was indicative of possibly a quick spin up, but it looks like more of a wind threat that came through earlier this morning around 9:15, and I did want to go ahead and show you the numbers. So 57 mile per hour winds, 56 mile per hour winds in the Marrero area, in that general vicinity, talking 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, certainly could do significant damage, just like we saw. So we saw some serious damage as a result of those strong winds, looking more like a wind event for us, but we'll wait and see if possibly there was a quick spin up with what we're seeing on radar from just a little while ago. So we'll send it back over to Brandon for now.
All right, thank you for that, Alexa. And that distinction there, the difference between whether this was a tornado or straight line winds, when you're looking at the gusts that Alexa just showed us, when you're looking at the damage that we're seeing on the ground in Marrero, strong winds are strong winds. They do cause a lot of damage. Let's get back on the street now to our Rachel Hanley. She is in Marrero on Avenue D on the other side of the Immaculate Conception School. Rachel, I understand that you're speaking with the Director of Fire Services for Jefferson Parish.
Yeah, I've got him right here, and he's going to give us a little bit more information on exactly what we're seeing here. Thank you so much for talking with us. Can you just tell us what you know about what happened here this afternoon?
So this morning after that weather event came in, we are in the 500 block of Avenue D next to Immaculate Conception School. There is power poles down with transformers on Avenue D. That affected the power for both campuses at Immaculate Conception School. The principal, Mr. Marco, decided that she was going to dismiss 840 students early because she has no power at both campuses. This weather event affected the 500 block of Avenue D where we are now, the 500 block of Avenue E, F and G, and the 500 block of Barrett Boulevard, with Barrett Boulevard having power lines down and transformers, just as you see the 500 block here. It also affected the Academy of Our Lady High School, Archbishop Shaw High School, and West Jefferson Hospital. I was just informed that West Jefferson Hospital is back on regular power, so they are not on generator power. So we had a weather event here. I'm sure the National Weather Service is going to come out here and decide if we had a tornado that passed through here or just straight line winds.
Were there any damages to any of the school buildings here?
So they are assessing that right now. We know that we have some wind-driven rain. They're checking the roofs. The Marrero Harvey Fire Department is in a process right now checking the streets that I just gave you to see if there's any more damage to structures or if it's just power lines and stuff like that. The good thing is we have no reports of injuries at all from this incident.
That's great. And I'm assuming all of these, you said 800 plus kids in these schools were inside whenever this happened. Have you talked with any of them or teachers? Have you heard what they heard or saw during this weather event so far?
I have not. I just talked to the principal because she asked for our assistance in the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. The Marrero Harvey Fire Department is a
This is pretty, dramatic looking behind us. Do you know if there is any worse damage than this anywhere, or is this pretty much did this pretty much take the brunt of whatever weather event this was here?
So I stopped at all the locations I just talked about, and it seems like it's just like this. There is no worse damage than what we're seeing right now.
All right, anything else you think people should know right now?
Just if they could stay away from this area. If you have no reason to come here with the early dismissal and the power lines down, just stay in this area. If you need to drive, use extreme caution because of the power being out. I'm sure that we have some some traffic lights that are not working. So just use extreme caution if you need to be in this area. And if you don't, stay away, please.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Robertson. Really appreciate it. So what you just heard from him was that we don't know whether this was a tornado or a straight line winds yet. We're going to have to wait for the National Weather Service to determine that. But what we do know is that there are multiple blocks here in Marrero that have damage that looks similar to this. There's power lines down, and more than 800 kids at Immaculate Conception School across the street from here are being released early. So like he said, if you have to come through this area, be very, very careful while you're driving because it sounds like there is a lot of this in this area right now. Guys.
All right, thank you for that, Rachel. And it is good to see the gentleman telling you to stay away from the area with a smile on his face because we can report that there were no injuries there in Marrero amidst what is a very serious situation there. You saw it there from the official speaking live to our Rachel Handley. A lot of the damage for those downed power lines, also transformers in the Marrero area, centered on avenues E, F, and D, also Barrett Boulevard, where they're seeing down power lines and transformers there. And that is affecting schools in the area. 2 schools where Rachel is, including Immaculate Conception School, amounting to some 840 students. The decision there being made for early dismissal as we take a live look at the outage map. The zip code there, we are able to look at the numbers zip code by zip code. About 3,000 people currently without power, so you can make the assumption that it's most of the neighborhood. But the good news there, according to the official from Jefferson Parish, just a few blocks from where Rachel is, West Jefferson Hospital, they were on generator power, but he says that they're back to regular power right now. So that is a significant sign of progress at 11:19 on this very busy Wednesday morning as crews rush to restore power in Jefferson Parish as they work to get to the bottom of what type of winds were these. Were these straight line winds or were they tornadic in nature? Still early to figure that out at the moment, as you heard from Alexa and Alexandra, who are looking at those wind gusts and what they mean. The good news right now, though, as we take live looks on the ground, is that the winds are not gusting as we're in a bit of a lull. And so that is allowing for dismissal there at those schools in Marrero that are dealing without power at the moment. Also other parts of our area. But the the story right now is if you do not need to be in parts of Marrero, Avenues E, Avenue F, Avenue D, Barataria Boulevard, stay away, as officials are saying right now. They are dealing with downed power lines, downed transformers, traffic lights not working, and crews rushing to fix all of that right now. We do want to get back to our Rachel Hanley, who is speaking now to Jefferson Parish Councilman Dino Bonanno, who does represent that area there. Rachel, hello to you yet again.
Hello. Yeah, no, we're getting lucky because we got here right as a lot of parish leaders started showing up and being able to assess these damages. So right away we were able to get a lot more information about what was happening here. As you said, right here we have Parish Councilman Dino Bonanno. Mr. Bonanno, what can you tell us about what happened here and on these other blocks of Marrero?
So apparently we either had a small tornado or straight line winds that came through and hit the area immediately adjacent to Barataria Boulevard and took down power poles from Immaculate Conception School all the way down to West Jefferson Hospital. So we have different sections of Barataria right now closed off because we have numerous poles down. And so we're out assessing that now. We don't know if there's any damage to anybody's homes. That's the next phase. Right now we're trying to get everybody safe. We're telling everybody, please stay off the street. I witnessed some cars just a minute ago go around and come out of a side street on the Barataria right near power poles. And while we're pretty confident that de-energized, you never know for sure. So please stay away from the area.
Is there anything else you think people in this area should know right now? I know we still have some power outages around here. Any other driving hazards?
Well, you know, as we go out throughout the day, we're going to have more lines of rain come through. So please stay home if you can. Don't drive through any flooded streets. And by all means, stay away from down power poles. You know, energy is going to be out here throughout the day, picking up these power poles and doing what they can to restore power. But the last estimate I heard was 18,000 people without power in Jefferson Parish. So we do still have a significant amount of people without power. Stay home and stay away from these areas, and don't drive if you don't have to.
And I know Mr. Robertson had mentioned that his office has not had any reports of injuries yet. Have you also not had any reports of injuries?
We have not had any reports of injuries. Like I said, we're going to have our damage assessment teams going out throughout the day through these areas and looking at it. But as we stand right now, we don't have any report of injuries, and the hospital is not on backup generators. So the hospital still remains on full electrical power from energy.
And as those damage assessments are completed, where can people go for updates on driving conditions and power outages, damages, that kind of thing?
You can go to the Jefferson Parish website to our emergency management department, or you can call emergency management at 349-5360, and we have operators standing by can actually answer questions for you.
Anything else you think people should know?
No, we're going to be doing this throughout the day today. Just be paying aware, be weather aware, we call it, and watch what's going on. Tune on your news and watch, and they'll tell you whether or not you're going to be in danger in your particular area.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Bonanno. As he said, the main story here is no reports of injuries so far. We're very glad to hear that. He mentioned we are going to be getting more rain throughout the day, so you definitely want to be cautious as you're driving around here, especially with all of these power lines down. Hopefully we should have an update on those power outages soon for all the people that live in this area. He said something like 18,000 people without power in Jefferson Parish right now, so that will probably be what we're looking for next, and for any updates on the damage assessments on this stretch of these several blocks in Marrero where we're seeing these damages.
Rachel, I want to keep you up just real quick. I know we're dealing with some early dismissal there from the school. You mentioned a little over 840 students between those two campuses. How do parents look? Any of them say anything? I know that you've been busy with officials, but if you can gauge their temperament from where you stand, if you can.
You know, I actually talked with a couple of them before we got closer to the school.
Yeah.
And they seem a little bit frazzled. They say that, you know, whenever I asked if anyone was hurt, they said nobody was hurt as far as they know, but their kids were pretty shaken up because they said it was very loud. I know for at least one of these schools or grade levels here, a lot of students were together inside the church whenever this happened. And so they were all together. It apparently left a pretty big impression on some of these kids. The parents, you know, they seemed relatively okay. People are not seeming to be hurrying away from the scene, but as I mentioned before, it was, you know, a little chaotic. I mean, this is more than 800 kids, and we were seeing a lot of, you know, a lot of parents, a lot of lions, a lot of yelling and kind of trying to get everybody in order. But right now it seems like everything has calmed down a little, and most of the kids we were seeing earlier do seem to be gone. So it looks like things have calmed down a little bit.
All right, Rachel Hanley doing a stellar job out there, keeping us up to speed on developments as they break here in Marrero. As you can see, Rachel speaking to multiple officials from Jefferson Parish, from Scott Walker to Dino Bonanno, and they all point to what seems to be a significant wind event in Marrero, knocking out power to thousands, also causing early dismissal at least 2 schools. West Jefferson Hospital without power for a bit, but now no longer functioning on generator power. The lights, full electricity back on over there. So that is a sign of progress. Another good sign here. While this was a very scary morning, particularly for those students who started their school day, we don't have any reports of any injuries. So that is the thank goodness here. Lots of cleanup though, because that wind came through quite quickly this morning on all sides of the river. Want to get to our Paul Murphy now, who is on the east bank. He's on St. Ferdinand, where, Paul, I understand there is some cleanup underway, some downed trees.
Yeah, Brandon, we're starting to get reports from across the area about fallen trees and then some isolated fallen power lines as well. We're in the 3200 block of St. Ferdinand in the Desire neighborhood, where it appears a large oak tree came down during the storm this morning when that heavy line of thunderstorms came through. We're talking with Michael Gilbert. His house was unfortunately hit by the tree. Michael, tell me about what happened here.
Well, when I was at work and I had got a phone call from my wife, and she told me, hey, the tree didn't fall down. And I was like, I just left work. I came here. One half of the tree was on the house, the other half was in the street. So the city came and they said, well, we can only take the part that's in the street. And that was a concern to me, because it was like, well, why are you just not going to take the rest of the tree? So I was.
Well, talk about what happened this morning. Did your wife call you and tell you that a tree came down?
Yes, she called me and told me. She said the tree came down. I was nervous. I was at the job. So she said the tree came down, and I said, well, are you okay? And she said, yeah, I'm okay. So I hurried up and rushed home. When I saw the pictures of the tree, it just scared me, and I rushed home.
And now you have Parks and Parkway, it looks like, clearing at least a portion of this tree.
Right.
It looks like the tree also damaged your fence, and
yes.
and you have some roof damage too as well, right?
Yes, I have roof damage, and it damaged my fence.
And as far as you can tell, this is the only damage in this neighborhood?
Yeah, when I drove up, this was the only damage that I seen.
And it appears, if you look, Caleb, if you can zoom in into the tree, you can see that the whole inside of the tree was eaten out somehow, hollowed out by termites or what have you, right?
Yes, and the city had marked the tree with a blue X a long time ago, because I've been staying in this neighborhood since 2015. So the tree was supposed to be cut down. They just ain't never come cut it.
So nobody injured though, right?
Nobody injured, thank God.
Right. Thank you, Michael. Again, we are starting to hear some reports across the area of trees that have fallen down. We've heard some trees are down in the Uptown area. Some trees are down in Araby and St. Bernard Parish, and this may be just very strong winds pushing down trees that have been weakened over the years, such as this one right here. But again, here in the Desire neighborhood in the 3200 block of Ferdinand, a large oak tree down in Michael's front yard. Back to you, Brandon.
Thank you, Paul. We're happy that Mr. Michael is okay and that his wife is safe too. A lot of people presumably making that phone call that there was an emergency. Trees down, power lines down, power poles down on both the East Bank and West Bank. Paul Murphy joining us live from the Desire area, where cleanup is underway after that tree did fall onto that gentleman's home. But on the West Bank, we're also seeing some significant wind damage too, particularly in Marrero, where our team coverage continues. Let's get to our Alyssa Curtis. She's at the West Bank Expressway in Robinson Avenue with a look at everything there, Alyssa.
Yeah, Brandon, we drove up to a honestly stunning picture. Take a look at this. This tree completely fell onto this house right off of West Bank Expressway and Robinson Avenue. The Marrero Fire Department is parked out here right in front of the house. I was able to speak with some of the firefighters, and they told me they are waiting for code enforcement to be able to begin the process of removing the tree from the house. Of course, they say this is going to be a really tedious process. You have to make sure there's no power lines and other dangers in the way before you are able to really get in there. I did see a Jefferson Parish department truck drive by with their lights on, and I was thinking they were going to stop here, but they kept driving. There must be another area nearby that also needs some assessment, some damage assessment. So I'm sure this is not the only area that has some sort of damage. I'm also seeing on the next street over, there's a gentleman it's seeming like he's picking up some damage and debris in his yard as well. So I'm going to go check that out after. But this is just absolutely shocking. When we drove up to it, my face was just absolutely stunned. I asked the firefighters, I said, was anyone home at the time? Is anyone home right now? They say that the people who were in this house are safe. They're not home right now at the moment, but everyone is safe. So that is really great news, because this looks like it's did some severe damage to this side of the house. And it seems like the tree broke off on certain branches in certain areas, because it's really in pieces right now. It wasn't just one fall or one kind of topple over in one swift movement. It looks to me as if this tree might have started to break apart during, I don't know if this happened last night or early this morning, but sometime overnight in these storms. Again, we're hearing everyone is safe, so that is truly the most important thing right here, right now. The fire department, of course, tells me it's going to take a while to get to this and to even begin the process of assessing this and mitigating the damage here. They tell me it's going to be a while, not just because of this situation, but what they're seeing all across the parish. They say he told me point blank, he goes, it's a mess. It is a mess, and that's actually absolutely what we're seeing, not only right here on this street, but at the building right next to me here. It looks like some of the roof may have been torn off as well. There's some damage to this roof, which I believe seems to have happened again in those storms. It's also starting to rain again, as you likely can see. So it's going to be a long day of cleanup, assessment. They also need the energy companies to come out and tell them if it's safe and to assess if there's any down lines. So again, this is extreme damage, but as I'm hearing, there's a lot of other damage around the area too. So if you're seeing anything around your house, please be patient. There's a lot that they need to get to. For now, reporting live in Marrero, Alyssa Curtis, WWL Louisiana.
All right, we do appreciate it, Alyssa. About 1 mile east from where Alyssa is our Rachel Hanley, who continues to stand by at Immaculate Conception School. Rachel, you're joined now by the principal who made the decision to dismiss students early.
Yeah, Brandon, we're very lucky that we ran into her, because up until now we've talked with a couple of parish officials who are working on assessing damage, but this is Kim DeMarco. She's the the principal of Immaculate Conception School, and she was actually at the school whenever this happens. So, Ms. DeMarco, can you just explain to me what you saw and heard whenever this weather event was going on?
Sure. So we have about 840 students here at ICS, and half of our students was in church at the time. I was with that half, and the other half was, we have a pretty broad, expansive campus, was spread out around the campus. And during the time when it was the worst, in church, the lights were flickering, and we had the wind thrashing against the doorways and the windows, and we could hear the storm outside. The students were really getting freaked out, and so we just kind of carried on, and I was staying in touch with this side of campus, and in the middle of all of it, we did lose power. We lost power to all of our school. We kept power in the church, but and then we also have a lift station on our campus. So at that point, without power, we could not flush the toilets and stuff like that. So we had to go to a dismissal, an emergency dismissal. But all the children were safe. We stayed indoors during that time. Luckily, we're able to, through our communication system, we have a text blast system, we were able to start communicating with parents right away and let them know. At first, we asked parents to please stay put, that everyone was safe. And then when we realized we were not getting power up because of the damage around our campus with power lines down and all, we then went to a dismissal mode, but we did have to adjust our dismissal. We dismiss in 3 different places all along Avenue B, on Avenue C, and Avenue D. So due to the power lines coming down on Avenue D, we had to adjust our Avenue D dismissal, but luckily we were able to communicate that through our parents through text blast. So even though it was chaotic, I believe it went very well and very quickly. We still have students here, and we've let our parents know we're staying as long as it takes for them to get to us. And so that was it. And we do have some damage,
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because we hadn't been sure up to this point whether there was any damage to the school itself or just the surrounding neighborhood. Can you tell us more about the specifics of that damage?
Sure. So we know this is a brand new roof on this building, and some of it has lifted. So we know the winds were very strong around here, and our office staff that was in this building and some of our students that were in this building were really getting a lot of that hard wind. But so we had that damage, and we also had some water intrusion throughout the entire school here and there, and we were thinking that was the wind blowing the water in, but our staff will begin assessing and see if some of our other roof areas were damaged or lifted. Yeah.
When's the last time the school dealt with damage of this caliber?
We actually had pretty bad damage for Hurricane Ida, and were shut down for quite some time. A lot of extensive roof damage that we had to have repaired, and a lot of damage due to water intrusion. So Ida was pretty bad for us. So we've lived through that. And Katrina and all that.
So that's how you will get through this one. And I want to ask about the kids too, because you say there's water coming in, roofs are lifting off, wind is howling outside. What were the kids like after this? Were they panicking, or did they seem pretty stoic about it?
Well, we did actually have some students crying, which is understandable, and we had 1 or 2 students in church that were really, very anxious, and we had to calm them down. And but all in all, I would say, we have a great staff, a great faculty, and they were great with calming the students and working through it. And so all in all, they were scared, but the students did great too. Listen to our directives, and everyone just pulled together and worked together. And so I think that's what makes things like this we're able to survive them and laugh about them. I think we have to always keep a sense of humor, because we just never know what the next day is going to bring, so.
Very, very true. And speaking of the next day, I know it's early, but do you have any idea whether the school will be able to reopen tomorrow?
I really don't know right now. I think our Archdiocese of New Orleans does a very good job of communicating and staying in touch. I'm sure I'll be in touch with my superintendent, and we'll all stay in touch and watch the weather and make that call, but I don't know what it is at this point, because I haven't been able to, leave and check on all that yet or see what the weather's going to do. Maybe you could tell me. I don't know.
Wish we could predict that with certainty.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Marco. We really appreciate it.
Nice
to meet you.
Very much nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's what we just learned from the principal of Immaculate Conception School here. Again, no students injured. It sounds like some of them were kind of rattled. Some damage to the building. We did not know that before. It sounds like there is pretty widespread, but maybe not too serious damage to a lot of the buildings on this campus. We're going to have to wait for the assessment of that too. And also, as she said, we still don't know at this point whether the school will be able to reopen tomorrow.
Yeah, Rachel, thank you so much for that. Ms. DeMarco pointing to what she said was some damage to the roof there. She said those winds came in quite heavily. She said the last time that they got significant damage was Ida. That roof, in fact, she says was new. And so it seems that the winds were just so strong there that they have wreaked havoc on both of their campuses, on both sides of the street there at Immaculate Conception School. But you send your child to school knowing that Teachers, staff, administrators will make sure that they are safe, and based on what we've seen, the story unfold live here on WWL Louisiana and our Rachel Hanley's live reporting there, the administration over at Immaculate Conception School did just that. Those winds picking up just as the school day was set to begin this morning into the 8 and 9 o'clock hours. Some children in church, some children in the classrooms, a lot of children rattled though by what they heard, and outside of the window what they saw. Power lines snapped in half there along the street, and then the building going in black because the power was out. As we do take a look at the power outages there in the area, according to the outage map, high concentration on the west bank of Jefferson Parish, particularly that zip code where our Rachel Hanley is reporting, where our Alyssa Curtis is reporting. Some 3,700 customers still without power there alone. Once you broaden out the scope to look at Jefferson Parish as a whole, we are looking at some 8,000 customers without power. That number is down from 10,000 not too long ago. So that is the good news as we take a look at the outages on one side of the screen and we take a look at the reason why on the other. Power lines there in the middle of the street, knocked down by powerful winds, gusts of 30 miles per hour in some parts of our area. The lakefront, of course, there coming off of the lake, some 50 mile per hour wind gusts. But another picture now, as we look at the conditions, you don't see any wind. So that is good. And what that allows for right now is what you see on the ground in Marrero. First responders there tending to the situation, assessing buildings to see what type of damage may be there in the schools and other areas, houses and whatnot. Also making sure that places that provide first care to people are okay, particularly West Jefferson Hospital. Again, we told you that power was knocked out there at a bit and they had to go to generator power, but now at 11:40 this Wednesday, we can tell you, according to officials there on the ground in Jefferson Parish, that the hospital is now back to functioning on the electrical grid, so that is good news as crews do work to restore things to normal in parts of Jefferson Parish, particularly at Marrero, where some strong winds hit this morning. Officials still working to find out if they were tornadic in nature or straight line winds. But as we've told you in our extensive coverage of weather events here, it doesn't matter whether it was a tornado or straight line. If it was strong and it caused damage, well, it's strong enough to do just that. Also, we've talked in the past to Peyton a lot about this and what seems to be a frequency of confirmed tornadoes. And it's not that exactly as much as it's the technology that has gotten better, can track the wind much better. So you're able to see what does count as a tornado and what counts as a straight line wind there. Gives officials a better idea of what they're doing as they go in to assess it. With that, we continue to assess the damage left behind. A new video coming into our newsroom right now of how things looked in the thick of it all in Marrero this morning as those significant wind gusts and rain pummeled the area. A viewer sending us this video a little while ago, and with that we do invite you to send us what you saw throughout the day and what you continue to see here to our team at WWL. Presumably some damage there left behind, but the wind not strong enough just yet as you see it knocking over the awning there, not blowing any of the furniture. So that is some good news, though. Goodness gracious, very much so scary as near blackout conditions from the wind and the rain from earlier this morning. A viewer sending us this video from conditions a couple hours ago. The good news now, though, is that the wind has subsided. There is a bit of a lull, but again, as we tell you, this is a weather impact alert day as we continue to track the potential for some extreme weather conditions. Meteorologist Alexa Trishula has the very latest on that.
Yeah, actually looking back a little while ago, we did see those strong wind gusts up to 50 to 60 miles per hour in the Marrero area. So looking at our storm velocity, you get a radar estimate of the wind speeds just before 9:15 this morning. This is in Marrero, where we've had reported gusts, at least looking at our radar data, over 60 miles per hour in a few spots. So 50 to 60 mile per hour winds will do some serious damage like we saw. So it's looking more like this was a straight line damage for us that we saw from around just about 9:15 this morning. It's possible there could have been a quick spin up tornado right out ahead of that line of storms that pushed in, but it looks more indicative of a straight line wind event for us. But no matter what, just like Brandon said, and like we always say, does it matter if it's a tornadic wind or a straight line wind? No, if it does damage, it does damage. It's a problem. So currently we're still seeing some heavier showers across the region, and we're going to continue to see more rain and storms going into the afternoon hours. So a current look at what's happening on our radar: heavier downpours filling in across all of the South Shore. The winds have really subsided, so the storms that we're seeing now are just giving us some heavier downpours in a few pockets really down the bayou for Lafourche Parish and Terrebonne Parish. From Thibodaux to Houma, we've got some heavier downpours. Stronger storms are happening offshore south of Plaquemines Parish. Some heavier rain though for Buras, some steady and soaking showers that are moving towards the West Bank, though there are some areas across the city of New Orleans that are dry at the moment, but then you'll see some rain filling in shortly. So we'll have waves of rain, and some of it heavy going into the early part of the afternoon, especially for our coastal spots and down the bayou. On the North Shore, the rain is not as prevalent. We've got some little rain showers happening across parts of St. Tammany Parish, near Covington and into Washington Parish, but not as much rain for the North Shore now. But we have some steady and soaking showers across South Mississippi. The heavier rain is off to the west and is moving eastward. So the heavier showers that are happening across the bayou parishes will continue to move to the east-northeast and bring us some more heavier rain and stronger storms into the early afternoon. Now, the strong storm risk looks to be pretty localized. We could see frequent lightning in some of these storms closer to the coast and some gusty winds in addition to that for our coastal spots. But I think the biggest thing to watch will be for those heavier downpours into the early afternoon that could exacerbate maybe some flooding concerns for parts of the metro area. So make sure you're still being vigilant on the roads, driving carefully, taking it easy out there. By this evening, the showers look to subside, but we are planning for some more rain in the coming days, especially on Friday, where we could be tracking some more heavier rain later this week. So at this point, we do want to go ahead and kind of talk about what's to come. I can walk you ahead with precision cast. First, I want to show you the current winds. Not really a problem now. Wind speeds sustained 10 to 15 miles per hour. We could get occasional gusts with the storms, maybe up to 20, 25 miles per hour. So the wind problem has subsided. It's more of a heavier rain issue that'll continue into the next few hours. So this is just after about lunchtime, 12:30, 1 o'clock. Still dealing with some heavier downpours, and some storms will continue until about 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. Fast forwarding to about 5 and 6, this batch of storms starts to press on eastward and move out of here. So by tonight, things really look to improve. As for tomorrow, there is a small chance for a few showers and storms. Precision cast not as, hot to give us a bunch of rain tomorrow, which is good news. We deserve a break after today, but I think by Friday, I did want to mention we do have some more rain in the forecast to tack on to these numbers going into later this week on Friday. So more wet weather to come in addition to what we're seeing right now. But really the biggest thing we'll be watching for standing water across the metro area, and any spots that have already picked up, a lot of rain. Any more rain that falls on those areas could deal with some street flooding throughout the early part of the afternoon, getting into today. Here's a current look at what's happening. Again, you can see the heavier rain filling in for our bayou parishes from Thibodaux to Houma, seeing the worst of the showers. A lot of the really bad storms are luckily offshore, not impacting any land areas. So that is good news to report, and it looks to stay offshore as this disturbance pushes from west to east across our area. The worst of the weather, the strongest of the storms are following along this boundary that are just offshore. That should remain the case, and they should still continue to travel eastward offshore and not impact any of our land areas. But still, we have some heavier rain from Morgan City to Thibodaux to Houma down to Galliano, also for Buras as well. We'll get some breaks in the rain here and there. It won't be bad all the time, but plan for some soaking rain into the next few hours as well. The North Shore not seeing as much. We've got a big break in the rain in Tangipahoa Parish. It's mostly dry at this point, but planning for maybe some more showers impacting parts of the North Shore as this batch of storms moves in from the Gulf of Mexico in the coming hours. So keep that in mind. Our coastal spots will see the strongest storms getting into the early part of this afternoon. A lot to talk about, though, going into the coming days, since we've been mentioning our risk of flooding being, pretty significant this week. I think today is going to be probably the highest chance to see some bad flooding. So with the rain chances the next few days, it's not going to be as significant. We'll be watching for Friday's risk of heavier rain, but today I think is the worst of the weather so far this week. So at least we're getting over it now. We have had damage, of course, across the area, especially Marrero. We've got power outages. So make sure for the rest of today, you're taking it easy. You're being vigilant on the roads, being mindful as you're traveling today, and making sure you're playing it smart for this bad weather we're seeing today. I did want to go ahead and possibly take a look outside with our tower cameras, just to get like an idea of what it looks like outside. If we could pull up any cameras outside just to kind of look and see where the showers are happening. I'm not sure if we can. Well, this is over the metro area. There's not a whole lot of rain happening over the city of New Orleans now. We've got pretty much a lull in the rain at this point. So it is cloudy, it is dreary. We could have some standing water, of course, across the city and across, Jefferson Parish. So you do want to take it easy on the roadways. We probably have some pretty decent flooding in those susceptible spots that usually pick up water pretty easily. Since we saw so much rainfall earlier today, I wouldn't be surprised if the water will continue to remain on the roads for the next couple of hours. It'll take some time for it to recede. So it's nice that we get these breaks in the showers, but it doesn't mean things are all clear just yet. And we are going to see continued showers into the afternoon. So closer look at Des Allemands, Raceland, Thibodaux, down to Houma, heavy downpours with those storms pushing into our river parishes, moving through St. Charles and St. John the Baptist Parish, headed for I-10. The city of New Orleans getting a good break in the rain, but this batch of showers that's moving through Belle Chase will push northward, and then it will eventually cross back into the city. So rain will start to pick up for New Orleans through Chalmette in the next 20 minutes or so as these showers press to the east-northeast. Down the bayou and down the coast, Plaquemines Parish, right along the coastline for Port Eads, there is a strong storm, but that's mostly impacting the water just offshore. Port Fourchon also dealing with a strong storm rolling in now, and that's moving towards Grand Isle. Just walking you through here where the worst of the storms are. From Cocodrie to Chauvin, from Cutoff to Galliano, some heavier showers and storms continue throughout this just about noon hour. So we've got 10 minutes to go till we get to about lunchtime. I know everyone wants to get out and get back to normal, but you do want to navigate accordingly. If your usual route is impacted, it may take you a few extra minutes to get to your lunch spot, or maybe picking up kids from school, things of that nature, different activities going on today. It might be a little bit more of a headache sort of day since we've had so much storm action so far this morning. So we'll continue, of course, to stay on top of any damage reports. I'll check in online. We are getting a lot of reports from the National Weather Service of strong wind gusts across the area, measuring down the coast and Cocodrie recently a 51-mile-per-hour wind gust. So far today, it's been common to see 30, 40-mile-per-hour gusts, 50, 60-plus mile-per-hour gusts throughout this morning, and that's from earlier today. So the winds reports that we are getting, mostly coming in from our coastal spots. That's where the strongest of the winds are happening now. But earlier today, we know the metro area saw those significant winds. Now the metro area, and really most of the area, is not dealing with the wind problem. It's more of a rain problem now. The wind and the lightning is really concentrated across the coast and down the bayou at this point. So we'll continue to monitor any, reports of damage, things of that nature. Hopefully we can get away with what we've seen so far, which is, not good. A lot of people still dealing with power outages and dealing with trees down, dealing with power lines down, which is it's a huge inconvenience. So, it's been an issue so far this morning, and I will continue to watch the heavier rain throughout the afternoon hours that could induce some more street flooding throughout the course of the afternoon. So that's really the biggest thing is the heavy rain and the flooding potential that stays with us until about midday today. I think by the evening commute, though, rain will really start to subside. There could still be some leftover standing water tonight going for the evening commute in that 5 to 7 p.m. time frame, though. Even though there could be some standing water and puddles, I think the showers will be really wrapping up by that time tonight. So that is something to certainly look forward to after a really wet and soggy start to the day and stormy start to the day. We should see things start to kind of improve going into tonight around dinner time. 6 o'clock or so, things really start to wind down. And I know Alexandra has been watching kind of what's to come going into the rest of the week, into the weekend. She has been on top of the forecasts, and I think she did want to jump in and give an update about what she's seeing at this point.
Sure, Alexa. Yeah, we're looking at the rain moving on out. We've been, Alexa's been pointing out that it's a lot lighter now for a lot of spots, but we do still have some off to the south, and it's a good thing that we have some of these really heavier pockets of rain. Look at this, south of Marsh Island and south of Morgan City, a very heavy rain indicated by radar with a ton of lightning. Also a couple of really heavy cells here south of Plaquemines Parish. So some of the very heaviest right now is staying just outside of our area off in the northern Gulf. Looking ahead, like Alexa was saying, at the big picture kind of scenario and tracking when this will all come to an end. She was pointing out by this evening, things should be a lot quieter. And when we look at our bigger picture, our satellite and radar imagery showing all the way back to just about Lafayette now. Even a couple of hours ago, it was still into southeast Texas, but it has begun pushing or continued to push off to the east. And so we're now seeing this lineup of, again, these really heavy cells forming up over the northern Gulf of Mexico, at least over water, though. And our land area is now just seeing just sort of the continuation of the showers and a few pockets of heavier rain here and there. Now, looking at your planner quickly as you make your plans for the next several hours, we are going to see temperatures likely in the 70s. It's pretty cool in the 60s right now for a lot of spots, and the rain chance coming way down as we get into this afternoon. And showing you with our model here, this is by about noon, so we're almost a few minutes away. This model really has a bit too much rain, so keep that in mind, but the trend by 3 p.m., still rain in the area. And then this is by 4 p.m. It's wrapping up and moving out to the east. Some of our eastern spots still dealing with showers and storms. 5 p.m. looking a lot better. And then this is through the rest of this evening. Things are much quieter. But we've been pointing out that this is really the first and I think biggest wave of rain that we're dealing with, especially we did deal with this morning. And now we're wrapping up with this first wave. But we do continue for the next several days with a rain threat, and some of that heavier rain may be possible, although it does look overall like a lower chance for those heaviest storms on Thursday. Now, by Thursday night, our model does have a surge of some heavier storms, maybe closer to our coast. And then into Friday, this is Friday morning at least, this model wants to keep us dry, but during the day Friday, we may see a return of some showers and storms. And looking outside again, we're talking about getting forward in time here and seeing the rain dwindle as we move through the afternoon and into this evening. But just pointing out, if you're stepping out right now, it is muggy. It's not extremely breezy anymore. A little bit of an east-southeast breeze, like Alexa was saying, but it's not really gusty anymore like it was this morning with those storms. And it's kind of cool. Temperatures in the 60s. So a lot of people, as we were gearing up for this event and putting out notices and alerts on Facebook and things like that, some people were excited about the drop in temperatures. Look at that, just ticked up to 70 degrees as we've seen some of that heaviest rain and the rain-cooled air kind of begin to moderate a little bit. Still a lot of 60s, though, off to the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain and over toward Thibodaux, Houma. Our Galliano temperatures and Belle Chase all still saying 60s, and checking in with those wind speeds just to show you the lakefront. Still at 22 mile per hour gust. Not unusual to see those higher gusts there at that lakefront location, but other spots either calm winds just about or winds up to about 10 or so miles per hour. A little breezy still, though, over in coastal Mississippi. So looking at our forecast as we get into the rest of today and just peeking ahead at what to expect, I do, just for the big bullet points, have our rain continuing for the next several hours, but then turning drier late this afternoon and evening. So we will eventually see that continuing to diminish, the rain threat and the flooding threat through the rest of this afternoon. Our high temperatures today likely in the 70s if we get there. And then tonight we're expecting a drier kind of night, less rain, mostly cloudy, and our low temperatures north and south in the 60s. So you can see that 20% chance for showers overnight tonight. And then tomorrow, if we do see our models continuing to trend drier, we may only see a few scattered showers or storms potentially during the day tomorrow. Still, we've had a lot of rain, about 2 to 4 or so inches. So we know that when that happens and then you get another big downpour, sometimes that can lead more quickly to flooding concerns than, of course, if we hadn't had rain in the previous day or so. So we'll be watching really closely because of that factor tomorrow and into Friday. Big picture of your radar scene if you're just joining us or just about to head out at noon, have somewhere to go. It's looking okay. There could easily still be a few spots dealing with some flooding issues, water receding from roads at those low-lying areas that you may know about. So it looks okay, but it does look like with these kind of rainfall rates, light to moderate kind of rain, I think we'll be able to catch up. There is a heavier storm, though, right now over Houma and some outside of Grand Isle that's a bit heavier. But for most of our North Shore and our immediate metro area spots, and in fact, many spots off to the southeast of New Orleans into St. Bernard as well, it does look like just the light to moderate kind of showers. So keeping our temperatures kind of coolish today in the 70s, keeping that muggy gray sky kind of look and feel. And then as we move through the rest of the day, it does appear that we should be drying out, getting a break in the rain for this evening and tonight, and then gearing up for some more showers and storms in the coming days.
Thank you, Alexandra. As we do continue our coverage here, do want to pass on a couple traffic notes for you. There is a serious accident, according to Metroscan traffic, at I-12 eastbound at I-55, exit 38. That's a 70-minute delay. And what we're looking at right now is in the New Orleans area, where there is an accident as well. 610 at the I-10 merge. The delay at that point, as you see, they're saying some 51 minutes right now as they deal with an accident. Don't know if it's weather related, but things are quite crazy throughout the area as we do continue our live team coverage here on this Weather Impact Alert Wednesday. We've got crews throughout the metro area bringing you the damage as we're seeing this morning from strong winds that ripped through the metro area this morning, and whether that's going to continue to be a challenge throughout the day. The good news now as we get set for the noon show is that we're not seeing any heavy rain in the city area right now. A lot of that rain off the coastline. There's a lightning alert that was just issued out of Plaquemines Parish, where we're seeing a lot of heavy rain beginning to move north and east, as you saw from Alexandra and from Alexa, who are bringing us the very latest. We're going to regroup for a couple seconds, get things ready, and when we see you in a little bit, we'll get to the new news. Stay with us.
WWL Louisiana News at Noon begins with breaking news.
That breaking news, severe weather damage, particularly in Marrero as storms blew through this morning. You're looking at the damage done there. Photos sent to us by Jefferson Parish Councilman at Large Scott Walker, who was there on scene speaking live to our crews. Down trees, power poles snapped like toothpicks in some parts as the entire area there in Marrero pretty much dealing without power amidst the wind event. Good afternoon to you. I'm Brandon Walker. Hundreds of children in Marrero, they huddled inside their school there when the wind tore down those utility poles just outside the window. Our Rachel Handley has been reporting live from Immaculate Conception School throughout the morning. Rachel, you've talked to school administrators, parish officials too about the very latest early dismissal there because of the weather.
Yeah, we did, and we've gotten a clearer picture of exactly what happened here. But at this point, as we've been saying over the past hour, we still don't know if this was a tornado or if this was just strong straight line winds that came through here. But as you can see behind me from these power poles, whatever it was strong. And here with me, I have Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng. She's here checking out some of the damage. And Ms. Lee Sheng, I know it's still early. I know you're still assessing things, but what can you tell us overall about the damage here in Marrero?
Well, we're going to say right now it's straight line winds until somebody who can classify it differently does that. But what we know is really this is kind of the epicenter of most of the damage we're finding on the West Bank, which is kind of straight up Avenue D from West Jefferson, from the hospital all the way to River Road. And so what it looks like is a lot of down power lines and a lot of loss of electricity. Obviously, we work with Immaculate Conception School and the Sheriff's Office to make sure those children were evacuated because they lost power. I was on the phone with Entergy already. We had some outages earlier this morning in Metairie, and most of those, except for a couple hundred, have been restored. And they are restoring. They're bringing in resources from other parts of the state to restore what on the West Bank, the outages that we have on the West Bank.
Do you have any kind of rough timeline for when the West Bank might be restored, or is it just too early to tell?
I don't know. I mean, I was on the phone with him probably about 15, 20 minutes ago. He thought it was about 15,000 that were out on the West Bank. We're reduced to about 11,000. He did say they were bringing in resources from around the state, and we've activated our emergency operations center. We had people staying there all night. We're under a partial activation. And so we just need to get through the rest of today. I think I'm concerned about Grand Isle. I think Grand Isle might get hit a little hard today. And I was on the phone with the mayor just a few minutes ago in Grand Isle. Yeah.
Any injuries reported here in Marrero?
No, I have not had any injuries reported. No, thank goodness. And I hope the day goes through where we can say that at the end of the day as well.
All right, well, thank you so much for talking with us. We really appreciate it. For now, here in Marrero, Rachel Handley, WWL Louisiana.
Thank goodness indeed, Rachel. We do appreciate your stellar reporting. Some 8,500 customers without power in Marrero, about a mile or so from where Rachel is. Those strong winds damaged homes, too. That's where Alyssa Curtis picks up our coverage for us. Alyssa.
Yeah, Brandon, I'm here on West Bank Expressway and Sadler Avenue, and I'm here with a gentleman who is one of those without power. This is Mr. Adib. Mr. Adib, thank you for joining us. You were talking to me about what you heard early this morning with some of those loud and really strong winds. Can you explain what you heard?
Yeah, yes, I heard loud and strong winds swirling around, but I'm kind of accustomed to it because we have an open field here and a lot of room in the yard, and wind does swirl around. But the lights went out, and when the lights went out, I knew something was wrong. And my stepson said that there's a tornado, and I looked outside and I could see the rain swirling around. And it didn't last very long, but the lights went out, and that seemed like a very long time.
So it was quick, but it's done a lot of damage. We see that one of your trees has partially come down.
Well, yeah, the tree, it broke the tree limbs down and came down on the power line and pulled the panel box off of the house. And that's what's the holdup is. That makes it take much longer because the energy said that they're going to be delayed. There's some trouble over at the hospital. So we know we need to take care of that first. So after that, then we'll.
Then you'll have some power, hopefully. So it might
have to fire up the generator.
So it sounds like, yeah, it might take a little bit for them to come out here and assess the damage. It seems like we were at the house earlier when the tree fell on the house, and it seems like the winds and the storm kind of made a straight line here to your house as well. You mentioned your next steps as you have some other damage as well. You have to wait for them to come out here and assess before you come out here and pick it up yourself.
Right. I wanted them to come and give me the clearance on the electricity, make sure it's okay for me to be out and about in the yard cleaning up and assessing all of the damage. I noticed there's damage on my storage shed roof. A quarter of the roof is off. And I have a broken window in the back and some loose siding. But overall, you know, it could have been a lot worse than what it is. So I'm not too discouraged about what I see.
All right, well, thank you so much for speaking with us. Please stay safe. Like we saw, there's so much damage here, guys, and it's going to take a while for these energy companies to assess the damage and come out. I spoke to the firefighter earlier, and he said it's a mess, so please be patient and please be safe. Reporting live in Marrero, Alyssa Curtis, WWL Louisiana.
Yeah, Alyssa, you and your photojournalist stay safe, too. We greatly appreciate your reporting. With that, we want to take a look atop our cameras, looking at the South Shore right now from the West Bank, looking east. You can see things are pretty gray, but also calm as we do prepare for another batch of storms to move through. The radar is quite busy. Let's get the very latest.
Hey, Brandon, yeah, and I wanted to look back really quickly at the winds when that system was moving through this morning. This is right in the early part of the 9 a.m. hour, and you can see this is really showing the winds with that system. The reds are going away from the radar site in Hammond, the greens toward, and so this is just indicating those high winds. And looking back at about 9:12, Alexa Trichler was pointing this out before, you can see a little bit of possibly some rotation. So we will see when we get the survey results from the National Weather Service survey teams if they do go and see what's happened in the Marrero area. A little bit of rotation possible on radar and high wind gusts, 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts indicated by radar when that system was moving through. This is the line as it moved through. So looking back earlier, radar 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., you can see we had some showers, and then here is the main line coming through in the 8, 9 a.m. hours, and now it has passed on to the east. So catching up and getting back to what's happening right now, this is our current radar scene. So North Shore spots really getting a pretty decent break, and we have had breaks south of the lake as well. I think the worst of the storms is over, but we do still have a good bit of shower and thunderstorm action, especially south of our coast. But thankfully right now, it's not right over our populated land areas, but some pretty ugly lines of storms and cells here south of our coastline in the northern Gulf. That's actually where the heaviest and strongest weather is right now. So the rest of our area in the greens, yellows, that's showing light to moderate showers. If you're curious, when is all of this going to push out to the east, tracking from the back edge of that rain and tracking at its current rate of movement off to the east? When will the rain end? This is your tentative timeline. So you can see through the afternoon, still some showers, still a couple heavy pockets of rain here and there, but not quite as much as we had earlier today. And you can see that rain potentially coming to an end for a lot of our locations around 3 or 4 p.m. I'll be back with a closer look at what we did see, 2 to 4+ inches of rain with that system and some higher wind gust reports. I'll show you all of that and have a look ahead to what else we can expect in a few minutes.
Meteorologist Alexandra Cranford continuing our team coverage for us. And as Alexander mentioned, when that heavy line of showers moved through, we talked a lot about Marrero, but directly across on the other side of the river, it hit the East Bank too. Another family dealing with some damage after a tree fell on their home this morning. Paul Murphy live uptown with that story. Paul.
Brandon, looks like we found one of those pockets of showers that Alex was just talking about here in the Desire neighborhood. We are in the 3200 block of St. Ferdinand, where a large tree has fallen on a house, Michael Gilbert's house. Tell me what happened.
Well, I was at work and I got a phone call from my wife. She was telling me that the tree had fell, and I was just in a frenzy, so I just came straight back from work and came and looked at it, and as you can see, it's pretty much all on the house.
We've been getting reports across the area of trees that have fallen here and there. But if you take a look inside this tree right here, it was totally hollowed out over time. And you tell me that it was marked with an X to come down at some point, but it was never cut down.
It was never cut down. That's correct.
Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it. Again, a large tree down here in the Desire neighborhood in the 3200 block of St. Ferdinand. And that's the scene out here. Paul Murphy, WWL Louisiana.
All right, Paul, we do appreciate it. We are happy that that gentleman is safe. His family is safe this morning as we continue to report the very latest. A live look at radar. Things are calm in the city of New Orleans right now and the surrounding metro area, but we're gearing up for another round of weather into the afternoon. Stay with us. Our team of meteorologists and reporters are going to bring you the very latest. All right, welcome back. Want to get to an alert that many of you have been waiting for. We've got your calls because we interrupted Victor Newman, the moments throughout the area, including mine over in Algiers. The good news here is that we will run today's episode of The Young and the Restless. It's going to air at 2:07 tomorrow morning. We're not expecting you to watch that live, so be sure to set your recording. Again, The Young and the Restless is going to re-air right here on WWL in the morning, 2:07. Set your recorder so that you can get your latest dose of Victor Newman. Our coverage of the weather does continue right now, though. Those storms hitting all of the West Bank. You're looking at viewer video right now from Marrero, which got hit hard, as our coverage has shown you the intensity of that wind and rain snapping trees and power lines. A lot of today's damage reports are coming from the Marrero area, and there could be more damage as we do prepare for another round of storms, as our meteorologists have been telling us. Rachel Hanley continues our coverage. She's been in Marrero all morning with the very latest. Rachel.
Yeah, as we've been saying, at this point, we still don't know if this is going to end up being a tornado or if this will just be very strong straight line winds. But what we can say for sure is that whatever came through here was very strong, because what we're seeing behind us is multiple utility poles on the ground leaning into the street. And what we're hearing from Parish officials is that there's about 5 blocks of damage here in Marrero that looks similar to this. Of course, as we've said before, we are also right next to a school. We're next to Immaculate Conception School, which has around 840 students who were all inside the school whenever this happened. No injuries, thankfully, but we did get a chance to talk with the principal of the school, and she told us that it was a pretty harrowing experience, both for the kids inside hearing it and then also the logistics of trying to get all of those kids home after this happened.
We, in church, the lights were flickering, and we had the wind thrashing against the doorways and the windows, and we could hear the storm outside. The students were really getting freaked out, but all the children were safe. We stayed indoors during that time. Luckily, we're able to, through our communication system, we have a text blast system, we were able to start communicating with parents right away and let them know.
Now, unfortunately, one other thing she told us is that there is some damage to buildings here on both campuses of Immaculate Conception School. At this point, the principal says she still doesn't know whether the school will be able to reopen tomorrow at its regular time. In Marrero, Rachel Handley, WWL Louisiana.
All right, moving into our weather forecast, we're going to look back really quickly at what we've seen and then look ahead to what else to expect. Our rain from earlier today, you can see this is our 7 to 10 a.m. radar. That line beginning to take shape, racing through Thibodaux, then just charging across the New Orleans metro area and continuing on to the east. And as I was pointing out before, some pretty high wind gusts along that leading edge of the rain, and a little rotation detected around the Marrero area around maybe roughly 9:10, 9:12. Now looking into what we have for live radar, we have mostly light greens or yellows. That's light to moderate showers, so we're still dealing with that. Actually a big break right now across a big chunk of New Orleans and the West Bank, but actually starting to see the rain pick up again for around the Marrero area and over toward Kenner as well. We still have a pretty decent amount of shower action across a big part of our south of the lake to the coastal kind of spots. Port Fourchon getting some moderate to heavy rain at the moment, and the North Shore not quite so much. A few sprinkles here and there for those of you around Mandeville and Covington, some light showers. But other than that, we're really not seeing quite as much for those of you north of Lake Pontchartrain. Looking back quickly at our 12-hour Doppler radar rain total estimates, and you can see they were up to about 3+ inches, and then these are actual recorded amounts. The airport over 2¼ or so inches of rain, downtown almost 2, the lakefront over 2 inches, and this is just from today since midnight, about 1.5 inches for some of our north of the lake spots. Highest wind gusts today north of the lake, Baton Rouge near 40 miles per hour, and then at the airport 47 mile per hour gusts there, and at the lakefront a 58 mile per hour gust recorded at that location, and a few other reports nearing 60 miles per hour around there as these storms charge through. Now, the good thing is we have most of that really heavy and strong storm action finished for now. We're still clearly adding to our rain totals, at least some. But the heavier storms, we have a couple of very heavy cells south of Plaquemines Parish and another line, and you can see that bowing kind of look to it where it kind of makes that C shape or backward C shape over there on the kind of south of Morgan City range. That's where maybe some high wind gusts and some very heavy rain are accompanying that system, but out over the northern Gulf. So for us, as I was pointing out, when will the rain end? The back edge now just about at Opelousas. So you can see our tentative timeline is going to be about 3 or 4 p.m. for a lot of our spots. Our planner through the rest of today, temperatures just hovering in the lower 70s, and that rain chance going way down once we get to about 4 or 5 p.m. So anything you have to do later this afternoon or into the evening hours looks a lot drier. We'll just be dealing with, the slick, wet roads from what we've already had, and maybe a bit of residual kind of flooding in some spots, the low-lying spots. You may still see a little bit of that in the next couple of hours potentially. Now, this is our radar and our high-resolution model showing what we can expect into this afternoon. 3 p.m. We're starting to see most of the rain perhaps moving off to the east and leaving a lot of spots dry. 4 p.m. and then this is 5. So you can see the improvement coming as this first wave of heavy rain moves out. If you're curious about tomorrow, looking ahead to Thursday, the morning looks okay, and we've been noticing over the past day or so our radar and model trends for tomorrow's rain are a little lighter. Now, it looks like by tomorrow night, this is 11 p.m., we could see a return of some showers and some storms, and then Friday during the day as well, we're looking for a bit more rain. So that's why we continue with our flood watch at least until Thursday evening. And we've already seen, as you saw there, rain totals just from today up to about 2+ inches of rain. So we're almost at that cumulative 3 to 6 inches and isolated up to 10. I think we're done, though, as we head into the rest of this week with the really most significant rain. Today and tonight, look at this, only our coastal spots now included at that marginal risk of severe weather. But tomorrow, still a level 1 out of the 5 risk categories. So that would account for a high wind gust or 2 and maybe some hail. Right now, our temperatures are around 70 in New Orleans and some of you 60. So unbelievably, we're feeling kind of coolish in a few locations. Also quite muggy, though. Our winds much calmer now compared to when those storms were rolling in. And this is all associated with these big upper lows. This one in particular, which will be, it looks like, hovering near us over the next couple of days, continuing to drag in that moisture. And look at this, even into this weekend, the upper low may still be near us. So that could bring our rain chances continuing into Saturday and Sunday, although overall it looks a little less than what we've had. And then it starts to move off to the north potentially early next week. So today, still very high chance to see some form of rain, although it should be less. As we get toward 3, 4, 5 p.m., the rain should taper off. And then tonight, we're looking for a lower chance of rain with a bit of a break and temperatures in the 60s. 7-day forecast shows the temperatures really not bad at all. So if you're not ready for those 90s and summer-like kind of heat, enjoy the next few days, but stay aware of the weather as we still will have to watch for a few more heavy storms Thursday and potentially during the day Friday as well.
Yeah, Alexander, that's right. We're not in the clear just yet, and we're also seeing some damage today in St. Bernard Parish. That's where our Winston Reed picks up our coverage. Winston, we understand you're live at Araby. What are you seeing there?
That's correct, Brandon. I'm on Angela Avenue, and the damage is obvious. Just look at this power pole that fell on top of this house. A pretty scary scene here. And I'm standing here with Parish President Louis Palmez. Thank you for joining me today. And we can assume that a serious weather event is what caused that pole to fall on the house, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It was the heavy winds, It pushed that pole down. We had 3 poles throughout St. Bernard Parish that snapped with heavy winds. We did have, I think, 9 trees that was down that may have caused one of those poles to snap. But as of right now, all the trees are removed off the power lines. This is one of the last poles that we have to get back up. So Energy's they've been really on the ball with us today. And we had about 1,400 residents that was out of power. And we have a little over 1,000 residents that just went back online. So maybe we somewhere around a little over 300 that's still out of power. But of course, as we get this replaced, they're going to be back on power.
And let's talk about the situation here. Do you know the residents that live here? Have you spoken with them yet? Are they still inside of the home?
Yeah, there was in there early. I don't know if they're still in here now, but early this morning when the pole went down, they were still in. They called. I don't know them personally. No, I don't. But when they made the phone calls, our sheriff's department, our fire department, they're out looking, and when they discover things like this, or the residents call it in, it gets to our department, and we call Energy, and Energy's like, I mean, they're I mean, they like the first responders, man. They don't waste any time getting out trying to get our customers back online.
And you got a convoy over here of infantry crews ready to restore this area here, restore the power, and obviously fix this power pole that has fallen on the home. So right now, again, we are in Araby. As you had mentioned, 9 power poles or power lines have been snapped, and 3 power lines have been snapped. Many trees as well have suffered some damage from this serious weather event that took place earlier this morning. So we're going to continue to update you on everything that has took place and all the damage here. And one more thing, the people that were inside, any kids, do you know how old they are?
No, they're the elderly couple that live here. There's no small kids that I know of.
All right, we'll be right back after the break.
Want to check back in with our Alyssa Curtis. She continues our coverage from Marrero, where there is a lot of damage there, Alyssa.
Yeah, we're back here on Robinson Avenue, and a code enforcement truck was just out here, and it seems like maybe some more parish officials, so I'll ask them in a second to see if we can get an update. But the code enforcement gentleman told me, I said, can you categorize this damage for me? And he said, yeah, it's pretty bad. He said there is structural damage, and part of the ceiling in the kitchen has also collapsed. So he says we're looking at pretty bad damage. Oh, we're Cynthia Lee Shang is out here now, Parish President. I'm going to see if she has an update for us as well. But again, we're looking at pretty extensive damage per the code enforcement team out here. And it's going to, again, take some time for them to assess this damage and be able to mitigate it because of the danger of these power lines. So I'm going to toss back to you, Brandon. I'm going to check in with Cynthia Lee Shang and see if she has any updates for us as well. So for now, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right, Alyssa, thank you. And we do thank you for staying with us in this continued coverage. We will continue to monitor conditions and bring you the very latest on WWL and WWL Plus. And of course, our next live newscast is right here at 5. You can watch it on WWL Plus. Download it for free. Make it.
Hello. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. All right, I'm meteorologist Alexandra Cranford getting you your update on what's happening on this Wednesday afternoon. Heading into this afternoon, we still have rain clearly, but we're seeing the really heavy and strong thunderstorm activity really at an end at this point. We're still just wrapping up with some light to moderate showers. So yes, our rainfall totals will be going up from here, but we've really finished at this point with our heaviest rain that we got early this morning, especially for New Orleans and much of the West Bank and New Orleans East and the metro area into Jefferson Parish, Kenner, Metairie, places like that. It was all in the roughly 9 a.m., 9 a.m. o'clock hour. So moving into this afternoon, still some showers all across the New Orleans south shore of Lake Pontchartrain. Actually, this is filled in. It was a little bit more scattered, but now we're looking at just a pretty widespread area with light to moderate rain. So this is not probably going to cause a lot of flooding issues unless you do happen to get a heavier pocket moving in. And north of the lake, things are much quieter now as well. Still light rain for a big chunk of St. Tammany Parish and around Hammond to Slidell and Bogalusa, but we are seeing the rain at least beginning to move out of our area. I'll show you that in a second, but I did want to touch on our 24-hour or 12-hour Doppler rainfall totals, and you can see a swath of the 3+ inches of rain across New Orleans around Lake Pontchartrain to Laplace and over towards Slidell and coastal Mississippi, but a much heavier pocket over here outside of Morgan City. So looking at our rain totals today at different locations, including downtown, the Kenner Airport, the Lakefront Airport, all close to or even above 2 inches. Reserve over 1.5 inches. Biloxi over 1.5 inches, and Macomb 2, and Baton Rouge about 1.5 inches, with Slidell close to 1 inch. And highest wind gusts today weren't as high north of the lake, but look at this, 58 miles per hour at the lakefront, 47 at the Kenner Airport, and near 50 miles per hour at Belle Chase. And we have had some other reports from around the area, around 60 mile per hour wind gusts from earlier today when we were seeing that line race across our area from west to east. So that was really the roughest of the storms. There are some pretty heavy downpours and some pretty strong cells just out over the northern Gulf, but these are, out over the water. So for our land areas, we're looking at a quieter kind of situation over the next few hours, and then we should be wrapping up with the rain completely. Not for the next few days, but just for today, as you can see in the maybe 3 to 4 p.m. hour. So your planner for the next several hours, of course, high rain chance into the 1 o'clock, probably even 2 and 3 o'clock hours. Still rain for sure around, but then our rain tapers off as we get toward the evening. Our model showing you here what we're seeing pretty well. This is 4 p.m. The rain has started to recede off to the east, so maybe some much improved conditions for commuting home today from work or school. And then this is by 5 p.m. We'll move forward through the rest of this evening, and this will have been the first batch of the rain. Now keep in mind, tomorrow we are still under a flood watch until 7 p.m. for maybe some heavy rain, but our models really are showing a rather quieter sort of setup potentially in the first part of the day. And then by Thursday night, we may see another round of some downpours, potentially near the coast or in the southern part of our area. We will see, but it does look like we will have at least that chance of rain tomorrow, although overall it looks like a lower chance. And then as we head into Friday, still a chance for more showers and a few storms. So our flood watch does continue through Thursday for that 3 to 6 inches. A few spots maybe closing in on 10 inches. but that would be, I think, isolated. Today and tonight, our severe risk area has been cut off all the way to just our extreme coastal spots and way over on the other side of Mississippi into Alabama. So most spots finished with a severe threat after we got some of those higher gusts. And into tomorrow, it looks like that will be a bit lower risk for us as well. Our temperature right now, 69 in New Orleans. It is muggy, it's gray, we've got the rain, but look at these temperatures. If you don't mind a bit of rain for this afternoon, then it's really feeling not too bad as far as the heat. We're not seeing that, and we're seeing our temperature staying in the 60s to 70s through the rest of this afternoon. Winds have calmed down as well. And then this is our upper pattern. We've been watching the pattern over the next few days featuring this upper low that will settle in over us. And it looks like kind of break off and hover near us at least into this weekend. So while most of the heavier rain and strong storms, it looks like will be in the next day or so and actually finishing up for some locations already with today's rain, we are still going to have this general set up with the low near us, then pulling off to the north as we get into the early part of next week. So that may keep our rain chance there at least somewhat into this weekend, with about a 30% chance we have for now. We'll keep you updated if that changes. Right now, we're looking for our temperatures staying in the 70s through the rest of this afternoon and evening. And then tonight, low temperatures about 70 degrees. We'll look for our temperatures tonight. You can see close to 70s south, 60s north of the lake, and a quick peek ahead at your 7-day forecast. I would definitely just stay aware tomorrow, even though I think a lot of us will get a drier spell tomorrow. There could be a couple of showers and storms, so we're still officially watching out for a bit of heavy rain that might cause some street flooding. And then Friday, about a 50-60% chance for a bit more rain. But thankfully, looks like for a lot of us, the worst of it may have already passed, but still need to stay aware through tomorrow and Friday. And this weekend, high temperatures only upper 70s and a 30% chance for some showers.